Hey, and what's up, movie viewers? Dena Movie Views here, asking, what are you watching? Well, today I am watching Genius Aretha on the National Geographic Channel. And what a coincidence that today is also the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin's birthday. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. And may God be pleased with you, Queen. I am wishing peace and blessings to her family. Now, I am a music connoisseur, and I will admit straight up that I am a big fan of Miss Aretha Franklin. Her music, her sound is what I like. It is very pleasing to my spirit. Anyone who truly knows me know that I think that the most beautiful female singing voice comes from my mother, first of all. And coming in a cool second, it is definitely a tie between Miss Aretha Franklin and Miss Whitney Houston. Their voices are legendary. Now that's in my book, and that's saying a lot. They have the musical vocals that I love. Now this movie is labeled a docudrama. Whether or not it is actual and completely factual, well, that's another story. I can completely understand Aretha Franklin's desire to maintain her legacy and her family's desire. And they have asked that others who would like to make movies about her consult with them. I don't think that's the wrong thing to ask. And they want to keep her image intact. And there is absolutely nothing in the world wrong with this. So as not to taint her brand and her image. Now, it has been said that Aretha Franklin herself chose Jennifer Hudson and gave her the green light to portray her in a movie about her life before she actually passed away. So, as a matter of fact, this movie that Jennifer Hudson is in, I think it's called Respect, and it will be out on the big screen later on this year. Now, I have seen Jennifer Hudson already in commercials for this big screen movie, so I am anticipating it. National Geographic began working on Genius Aretha very soon after Miss Franklin died, and she died of pancreatic cancer back in 2018. It is said that within 2 months of her death, they began working on this docudrama, as they're calling it. Now, even though both biopics were said to have been delayed because of this COVID pandemic, obviously the 8-part series on National Geographic is the first one to be released. So it is an attempt to relay this phenomenal vocalist, artist, and performer's personal life. We all know that Miss Franklin was very secretive about her life. So all of her grief, whatever influences she had, I think this was supposed to give the audience or her fans an opportunity to experience her life. And I would assume that this is all an attempt to help others understand what made her so deserving of the title, the Queen of Soul. Now, Genius Aretha first premiered on Sunday, March 20th, and concluded on yesterday, which was Wednesday, March 25th. 24th, excuse me. Now, it is a 2-hour, each night it's been on 2 hours. So the movie stars Cynthia Erivo as Aretha Franklin, and a young Aretha is played by Cheyenne Jordan, and Patrice Covington and Rebecca Naomi Jones are in the role of Aretha's sisters and background singers, Irma and Carolyn. And then there's actor Malcolm Barrett that played Ted White, who was her first manager and husband from 1961 to 69. She did marry Glenn, and he was an actor. That was her second husband. And he is also shown in this movie well, a person imitating him, an actor. And T.I. was one of her love interests as well in this movie. But the funniest character of all was Courtney B. Vance. He played the role of her father, the Reverend C.L. Franklin, and he was a real trip. His character in this, he tickled me. He tickled me to no end. I can't deny it. We'll get back to him later. Now, David Cross also played her producer at that time, who was Jerry Wexler. He was her producer and worked with her on the I Never Loved a Man album that catapulted her to making her a household name. In this movie, a young Aretha she's called Ree, which is her nickname. She spends a lot of time on the road with her father, who is the pastor, C.L. Franklin, and she sees and is exposed. She's exposed to some real adult situations. Now, the way C.L. Franklin was depicted was as a womanizer, a very unfaithful person that could not control his whorish behavior. That was some whorish stuff. And he was so whorish that he eventually caused Aretha's mother to leave him because he impregnated a 12-year-old child. And that was at the same time Aretha's mother was pregnant. Sorry, that's a spoiler. But if you've been reading up on her history, you know that's not new. Spoiler! But honey child, that was one of the most disturbing parts for me. I can't. But not to mention the fact that at age 12, while Aretha was traveling around doing tours with her father, because he would allow her to sing as they traveled in his position as the pastor. He would take his church on the road, and he would have different acts, and he would allow Aretha to perform, and she was very young. But at the age of 12, while she is traveling doing shows with her father, she becomes pregnant. And then she becomes pregnant again at the age of 14. And she completely refused to tell anyone who was the father. There were parties at her house that her father would have, and he would allow her to see different celebrities at that time, like Dinah Washington, who were considered big time for them, and she would watch and adore them, and she would even tour with some of them. But it allowed her to see people like Sam Cooke when she was traveling, and she learned how to perform, and this helped her to gain the confidence as an artist and as a woman. Aretha had an ego sometimes. There was no denying that, and you could feel there was a bit of tension with her sister Irma, who was also trying to break into the music business. Now, the many characters and wild church people she had around her as a child, oh my God. I'm just going to leave that right there. Anyway, it did show some of the hostility within her family, among her sisters, her personal relationships, and her interaction with activism. Some of those church ladies, they tickled me. I'm not saying they were all wrong, but some of them tickled me, those characters. And of course, there was Dr. Martin Luther King, whom she actually toured with for a while to assist him in raising money to continue his campaign to enlighten Black people, his mission. So she was helpful in that. They did show some of her activism. And I was surprised to see the guy that played Reverend James Cleveland, and he was sweating the same way I can remember and recall seeing Reverend James Cleveland perform. He would always be sweating. So they got this guy, and he just really reminded me of him. I don't know if that's one of his relatives or not, but I was thinking he's got to be related, the resemblance. But I was watching to see if they would do a scene with her that depicted her after she personally showed up at the Nation of Islam mosque after there was a debacle with the police. Of course, it was not in there. I wish they had shown that because I always wanted more details about that. But it did show how she wanted to be a part of this civil rights movement. She wanted to help to improve the life of her black people. She wanted to use her artistry to help draw attention to what was going on and what was being done to black people. And she wanted to help use her money and her fame to help. And I was really impressed by that. Because nowadays, there are a lot of celebrities. Mom's the word. They want no part of that because you're not messing with their dollars. So that was something that I was impressed by. And that was so enlightening to see. I do think that Genius Aretha was an attempt to give more insight on who she was and what influenced her to get into the industry, what shaped her life to make her the musical vocalist that she became. I really, truly enjoyed the singing along to all her songs. She has countless hits, and I try to think of one that I don't like. And honestly, I haven't found one yet. There was a part in the movie that really stood out to me. And spoiler, but anyway, it showed the genius that is Aretha. And of course, it is Cynthia Erivo who is playing Aretha. And she's in the studio and she's recording. She's sitting at the piano about to record a song. And the band is playing, the background singers are in harmony, and Aretha suddenly stops them. She silences the room. She stands up and she looks around because she feels something is off. She looks around the room and asks, what happened to the empty pizza box that was sitting on the piano? There was a pizza box here, she says. Where is it? And just that little box being there affected the sound quality which she was looking for when she was doing this performance. And that to me showed how natural her musical talents were. She took the pizza box and placed it back on her piano at the same angle as it was before it was removed. She sat back down to the piano and belted out a record that became a hit. Now it just shows it was natural to her. That beautiful voice was just natural. And that helps to translate into the genius that is Aretha Franklin. During this movie, there was a lot of flashing back and forth between her childhood and what was her present life. And sometimes the storyline seemed to jump forward kind of awkwardly onto another segment of her life without closing the chapter. So much so that I did say, hold up, did I miss something? I took the remote and I would rewind thinking that I must have missed something or the TV skipped something, but it wasn't. It's just the way that it was written or directed, and that's the way it was intended to be. And I found that a bit confusing at times. The part where her mother was seen in a flashback, it threw me off. I kept saying to my husband, who is she? And I kept saying, who's the dude she with? Is that her brother? Is that his wife? Because Aretha had a brother. So I was thinking, who is this and what did I miss? And that is why I am going to have to give this movie a 3 stars out of 5. Even though certain parts did have you wondering, did you perhaps miss an episode or something? There is no denying it was still a very good, entertaining movie. Like I said, I am a music connoisseur. I like all genres of music. But I simply love the songs in this show. And of course, I could tell when Cynthia was singing. I could tell when Aretha's, it was actually her voice. I could distinguish the difference. But Cynthia does have a very good vocal. She has very good vocals. She did a very good job vocally. She has a nice voice, and I commend her. The costumes, the production design, the hair and the makeup, they were all acceptable. I love the gorgeous, glamorous gowns because that's the kind of woman that I am. That is something that I really liked about both Whitney and Aretha. They could wear the heck out of those beautiful gowns. They always seem to look stunning when they're on stage. And that is something that I like and I adore. Because seeing females, black females in particular today, everybody's wearing what looks like panties or bikinis when they're performing. But I love the long, glamorous dress and the really classy hairstyles. I do. I like that. Maybe I get it from my mom. But in this movie, they had her hairstyles down so well. You could look at the hairstyles and it would give you clues as to the era in her life, at what point they were trying to depict. That's how you could follow the scenes. They kind of let you know the decade. Now, I tell you one thing, honey. Yes, let me tell you. There was so much cigarette smoking in this movie. I told my husband, good Lord, my throat would be irritated to death. And I know somebody left there with cancer. If they didn't have it before that movie, somebody got cancer. I was like, oh my God, how many cigarettes? Really? I really couldn't do that role because that cigarette smoke would tear my throat up. Every scene seemed to have somebody smoking, about to smoke. But I cannot end this review without mentioning one of my most favorite historical moments that I was able to witness on TV when they showed actual footage in this movie of Aretha. And I don't know if many people remember, but Aretha sang Nessun Dorma. And it was beautiful. I can still recall it. And what I like is that she added her own touch to this song by singing between the original Italian and the English, and she did the English translation while she was singing, and I simply loved it. It etched a place in history and also in our memories, and it sealed her title as the Queen of Soul. And today that rhythm and blues sound is being tainted, and even some could say that it's being stolen. But people like me know that it can never truly be replaced. For those of us who know and understand real soul music, it comes from a totally different space that everybody don't have. It's different. You can't be fooled. Now, in spite of many events that would have limited or caused others to fail in life, Aretha prospered. Aretha went from a child gospel singer, teen mother, a single mother as we would call her, a dropout, to the Queen of Soul, becoming the 18-time Grammy winner and once named by Rolling Stone magazine the greatest singer of all time. And one of my favorite singers. Now, if you would like to watch Genius Aretha, it is currently streaming on Hulu. This has been Dena Movie Views. Like, share, and comment. And if you have not already, be sure to subscribe and join me for my next movie review. And remember, it's my view. What you watching?